Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Come on in, sit on down. It's time for episode 101 of the Truther Therapy Sessions. It's Sunday already. That week has just flown. It's been a busy one. I've been all over the place dealing with family stuff, children, all the usual things people have to deal with when, you've got two kids. And my youngest is teething right now and having some struggle getting to sleep. So I've kind of pushed these shows a couple of hours further ahead to like 11 o'clock in the evening in the hopes that maybe they'll be asleep by the time I can actually do this thing. And as you can tell, I'm still a little bit tentative because my voice is a slight whisper. I'm just trying to make sure I don't wake them up while doing this. But I should have an interesting show for you guys today because last week I did have some call-ins and people came on and shared some of their own stories. And I liked it. It was good. It was good to get back to the roots of this podcast, what it's all about, And I actually originally did have some guest podcasters coming onto this show today from the Daily Conspiracy podcast. And I emailed them last minute because I saw my calendar that the names were there for the Sunday. I was like, am I supposed to be on your podcast at 9 o'clock? Are you guys coming on mine? I completely forgot. And they were like, oh, we forgot too. We have no idea. Don't worry about it. We'll just reschedule. We're not ready. So it got to the point where it's like, okay, so that's good because I already booked two people to come on and share their stories today. So I've just sent a link to one of them and I'm waiting for them to pop in on Zoom right now. Maybe if they're listening, we'll see them jump in any minute now. But yeah, hopefully we should have some guests coming on just to share their stories and kind of share what they've been through waking up and pulling through, I suppose. And it should be a good one. If you would like to be a guest on the Truth of Therapy Sessions and maybe share your story of waking up, for lack of a better phrase, or whatever that is, whatever that looks like to you people out there, because I know that's different for everybody. And everyone's story is relatively unique, but at the same time, I think we all can relate highly to hearing each other's stories about what it was that made us snap out of it and unplug and for our eyes to be open for the first time, And I think I love hearing these stories, again, because they are quite relatable. And I do think it's good therapy for everybody to kind of listen to. So if you want to come on to the Truth of Therapy Sessions, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. And you can hop on, just like the guest you're about to hear today, and just talk. Just talk, and we'll have a back and forth, and we'll get it all off our chest, We'll just share what we know and what we think and how we feel about what we think and what we know, because again, that varies vastly between many people. So yeah, that's what's coming up, guys. Like I said, I'm just waiting for the first guest to hop into Zoom. I've sent them the link, so if they're listening, Matthew, please click the link and we'll get on. And our second guest will be after the break. So because this is a late show, I do just want to say as well, I might not go for the full 2 hours. Maybe I'll cut this short at an hour and a half, maybe an hour 15 or something like that, just for my own peace of mind and just so I can relax a little bit. So while I'm actually waiting for people to come out to see what's going on in the chat, we've got Christ101, good to see you. We've got Shelley Grace, great to see you as well. We've got Connor in the house, Cult of Cons here. I just saw, Connor, you bought one of my Truth of Therapy Session mouse mats from Fourth Wall. And I looked at it and it said apparently you paid $17 for that. And something like $15 postage. I think all in all it came to something like $30 or something like that. And I was looking at it, and apparently I made zero profit on that. So I don't know what I've done with the margins there or what's going on, but you paid way out of pocket for a mouse mat, and I got nothing for it. So I honestly have no idea. I can prove it to you right now. I just got the message on the app. And recent orders, where is it? Recent orders. I'm still trying to figure out how this thing works. Yeah, look, right here. So at the top there, can you see? Mouse mat, Connor 30, me 0. I get nothing for that. So I have no idea what happened there, Connor. I honestly haven't got a clue. But whatever, enjoy the mouse mat either way. It really doesn't matter for me on my behalf. But you brought to my attention through purchasing that there's some kind of error that I'm going to have to email them about because I don't know what's going on. Yeah, but there we go. You want it for your wall, he says. Yeah, well, yeah. I've got your hat back here, as you can see. It's found its place on my wall next to the pigeon. So yeah, why not? I look forward to seeing that in your new background, which looks pretty cool, by the way. I will say I enjoy the the aurora borealis effect lighting you've got going on. I'm considering getting my own little orb in this bottom corner down here behind the tree. Maybe getting some kind of funky lights going on back here. You've kind of inspired me a little bit to update the office, because it is looking a little bit old and simplified, and I'm kind of waiting for the 100,000 mark to kick in for the YouTube channel, so I get that plaque, and I'm just going to put that somewhere integrated into all this wall. But I think I need to make it a bit more sharper, maybe get a Understanding Conspiracy neon or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm going to figure it out as time goes. I'm in no rush at all to redecorate the office. I'm just not that type of guy, but we'll see. You doxed Connor. I don't think he's been doxxed. I think he's all good. Don't worry about it. And we all know who Connor is. Anyway, yeah. I want it for my wall. I make it up to you with a super chat. No, honestly, Connor, you don't have to make anything up to me. It's not. It's just you've made me realize there what's going on. If postage was low as $17, I don't know why the postage is so ridiculous. It shouldn't be that ridiculous. Like that. It's internal. It's American as well. Like that's. This is just what these clothing companies do. I found Teespring was no better, which is why I'm trying Fourth Wall. Apparently, I've heard it's slightly better in some way, shape, or form. But no, it doesn't seem like it's ever a good deal for the people buying the stuff, and it's rarely a good deal for the creators who use them either. I think I'm going to have to maybe figure out how to source my own merch and stockpile it here or something like that and sell it straight from this place. But I really can't be bothered like dealing with merch personally. It's just not. I'd rather outsource that to somebody who knows better than me and has the resources better than me to do that. So yeah, that's as far as I go with. If you're interested in merch, you can get a Truth or Therapy session mug, I think, for an exorbitant price. And you can also get yourself a Truth or Therapy session hoodie, a high quality hoodie here, which I have not put on today because I am sweating in this office, but on the back it says not a licensed therapist if you're interested. They are available, and there is a Nephilim Look Like Clowns range there as well, which is not as popular. No one seems to care about that, but whatever. I just chucked it out there. Why not? Let's see how it's going. It's a grift. We need to start our own Truther-powered merch, centralize our production. It seems that way, Connor, doesn't it? Yeah, it's an absolute grift. I know you've had problems before. I know I paid tooth and nail just to get this hat as well. Yeah, the customer gets shafted with these companies, that is for sure. Is this actually live or a live repost, says CT? No, this is live. This is the real deal, CT. Here you are. You've got me. This is it. If you have any questions, get them in. I'm all for it. You've got me for a little bit, an hour 15 at least. I'm just checking. It was like our first guest has arrived. Matthew is here. So, Matthew, this is live. If you're listening right now, there's a bit of a 20-second delay, so I don't know when you're going to see this message. But I will just let you know, turn off the show on your computer so there's no feedback or reverb. And that's the first thing I'm going to have to say. So let me just admit you to this chat and we'll get it going. I'm going to mute you for now so the guys won't be able to hear you when you do come in. This is our first guest. I'm just going to admit you in. So Matthew will be able to hear me and I'll be able to hear him. Here we go, I think. Matthew, there we are. Can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you. Okay, we've got our first problem. See, this is why we do this. This is why we set this up. Yeah, your microphone might be muted or something. I'm not sure. Let me just check my audio. 1 second. Microphone, that's speaker there. Try again. I can hear you. I can. Yeah. There we go. Right. So I'm just the guys are gonna start to hear you now. Okay, you've been muted up until this point while we do the technical stuff. So
not a problem.
You are live. They can hear you. Matthew, how are you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, like I said, a little bit tired. It's later than usual for me, but I've got my water. I'm good to go, and the adrenaline's pumping now. The live show adrenaline, so I think I'm good to go. Yeah. So you sent me an email asking for a book quite a while ago, and then obviously we sorted that out. And then you messaged me saying, "Paul, I'm enjoying the book," and you also said, "Can I come on and share a story. And I was like, absolutely, let's do this. This is what it's all about, Matt. So I'll give the floor to you. Is there anything you want to say before we start, and then we'll just get into it?
No, I just want to say thanks for responding. Obviously, the book has been good so far. About a third of the way through. I've got a little guy, so balancing that with everything else and doing as much reading as I can, it's hard. But I don't know how you do it with two. That's hopefully, God willing, we'll give him a sibling. But one is a tough handle already for us.
Yeah. You. I don't know. You don't really know what you're getting yourself into till you're in it. I suppose it's one of those, isn't it? But no, you find a way. You manage. It's what I can't explain it. And you know when the time's right, so what's best for you as a family. And it's tough. It's tough having two kids, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also very rewarding in many ways and exciting. And you manage. You understand. You get it.
Yeah. You figured out. I remember before having kids, it was always, hey, how do you do it? Like, oh, you got 8? No, yeah, we just figured it out. And that's what it seems like. You just figure it out. You manage the highs and lows. And right now, he doesn't like to sleep at night. So we're both exhausted. But hey, at least as guys, we can do the caffeine. The mamas, if they're breastfeeding, good luck, So no, it's good. Things are good. And I'm glad to be on here with you. I've been listening to you for a little over a year. Found you through the little season or last season, whatever you want to say. But I've enjoyed all the other stuff. Like as I said in the email about that one story about pre-flood. Wow. Like, nothing I was ever taught in my upbringing or about being around religion and Christianity showed any of that. And I see where most Christians probably couldn't even swallow that. But thanks for taking the time to write that. And I know there's certain things in there that we probably couldn't even say on here. So I do say thank you for that.
Yeah, you sent me a message saying that was a very vivid description of what it would be like, Paul. I'm kind of reeling from it. And I do remember writing that little something like I don't know how long it is. It's like a page, isn't it, or something like that? Just
a page. Yeah.
Like I'm imagining what it would be like to live just before the flood, in that time period. And I let my imagination run a bit wild, but all based on what I knew and what I researched. And yeah, even I was a bit shocked at what I came up with at the end of all of that. Because when you really start to imagine it, it's like it's worse than anything you can ever imagine. Like when you really realistically get down to how people would behave in a world with chimera monsters and hybrid humans everywhere and giant bodies strewn everywhere, rotting away from the punishment originally about 200 years ago, you realize that living in that life, in that world, it would just be an absolute nightmare for everybody involved from start to finish. And maybe I did channel something coming up with that. Who knows? But I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, and you think like, it had to be bad for God to say, I have to start over. And thinking about our times, and I said it in the email, the world sort of tries to bring us down now. I can't even, you imagined it. I couldn't. So thank you. That was vivid, but it helped bring me closer to more the story, which is the truth, which is, from the Bible and our collective conscious to a point. So, yeah.
It seems to be a common problem I've noticed that people who kind of are outside of the Christian sphere, we'll say, just never have no context to understand it, or even like they hear these stories about Noah's Ark, and it's very like Sunday school image of this idea that just sounds insane. It sounds silly, and it's kind of, why would a cruel God do such a thing? And it's kind of, what kind of God would flood the earth? And it's kind of, didn't he create the people to begin with? And it's kind of, isn't it really his fault? And they have these attitudes towards this time period. And it's kind of, well, when you put human agency into the situation and free will, and you imagine the choices that were made during that time, and you're given the real reason why it got so bad. It wasn't just as simple as the people were just doing a few naughty things and God didn't like it. It was like, no, this is... there was a war, there's an agenda, there's corruption, there's sabotage, there's powers at work way beyond us as well, mixed in with our own sin and issues and lusts and desires, and it just became an absolute shit show. To pardon my French, it was just the worst possible thing you could imagine. And I feel like I always felt, from someone who wasn't raised a Christian, when I discovered all this stuff and read these books and got all this information and kind of pieced together an image in my mind, I was like, people need to know this, because it kind of destroys that silly image that people have of what the world was like in the past, from a biblical perspective. It really brings home the reality of the situation. This is human history. We're talking about real history here, that things that actually happened, that we have evidence for. And every culture has kind of echoed it to the modern day. You know, it still echoes out to today what happened in that time. And I felt like I had to write that. I had to get it down. You know, I had to make it clear what the biblical history actually is, because I don't think people really think about it, like, and they don't incorporate the demonic element, the spiritual warfare element. So I'm glad it works. It sounds like it works. It sounds like I did it. So I'm happy. I'm happy I managed to convey that. Right. Yeah. Good stuff. So
yeah, because
anyway,
I was raised Presbyterian at a young age. Oh, sorry.
No, go.
I was just going to say I was raised Presbyterian at a young age, and it was very much watered down. It was very basic. You know, you think of the dove and the ark and the waters receding, not what preceded it. You know, why was Noah on that ark, or the other, you know, as you said, around the world, there's a lot of different myths from different tribes and cultures, and, you know, what was the rest of this? But, you know, I was thankful for that upbringing. At least I knew who Jesus was at an early age. And they weren't teaching any falsehoods. It was like, oh, hey, he got, who is the guy in the olive tree? Like Icarus or Zacharias. Oh, Zachariah, come down from the tree. So you're always hearing these good stories of Jesus. So I at least had that at the beginning. But then, you know, I'm here to kind of share my story, but I'll let you, were about to say something. Go ahead.
No, I was about to ask you to share your story. So go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll get right into it. To just keep going with that. You know, I knew who Jesus was. Yeah, and you know, it was very basic, as I said. And you know, we had our blueberry festivals in the summer at our Presbyterian church in a small little town in New Jersey. You know, we knew everybody. It was a great little community. You know, it wasn't fire and brimstone. It was, hey, you know, come here, be a good person. You know, maybe we'll have communion once a month. And you know, I had my small Sunday school with, you know, Mrs. Luck, who, you know, thankfully I'm still, you know, I'll send a picture of my little guy to her or something. You know, so it started off really well outside of, you know, the reason I wanted to reach out to you and share this is my coming back to God and Jesus after trauma and a lot of other things. And I feel like if I could have heard a story like this during my journey, maybe it would have helped me. So I'm just sitting here like, maybe this could help someone else, whether it's one person or a lot or hundreds. It doesn't matter. One is better than none. I always say something's better than nothing, and better is better. You know, weird, dumb sayings I would say during my career as an athletic trainer. But yeah, started off, came from a divorced family, which it messes you up. You know, divorce really destroys the psyche of a child when you don't have both mom and dad there. And when you're young and you see the fights, it's who am I? You know, and through that trauma obviously we know does lots of things to people. Turned me into a people pleaser. I always wanted to please and do right. So I felt good. I didn't want to be put down or made fun of. I always struggled with that. And I struggled with it more so when I moved to Kentucky to be with my dad, because my stepmom resented me and my little brother because her children, her two sons had a father that left them, you know, but yet I had a dad who loved me, even though, yes, he was a weaker man. He chose comfort, and weak men can't raise strong men. And we know what kind of times we're in. And she always would put me down any chance she got. It was always emotional and verbal abuse. Thankfully, I wasn't physically abused. But it's still, trauma is experienced uniquely and individually for every person, and we have to respond in a certain way. So mine was escape. Mine was reading books, thinking Star Wars type stuff was real, living in outer space. Like, hey, I'm going to go to the moon. Well, we all know what that is. But that was my escape at a year early age. Eventually, I got later into high school years, and I was going to a all-guy Catholic high school, which when you're raised Presbyterian and Protestant, very basic, watered down, you go to what seems like fire and brimstone, and this is a cult. This is nuts. So I get to this high school, and that's around the same time that Boston Globe article came out in the early 2000s. And I'm like, oh, Catholic priests are doing what? So I was like, I don't believe in God. Told my stepmom, I don't believe, I'm an atheist now. And she was pissed. But she couldn't say anything because of obviously what just happened. So I start going down this godless route, even though I know God was always with me. God was like, hey, go have a Rumspringa. And basically, I joke, I went on a Rumspringa for 20 years and went to college, started my party years. College was always relatively easy. You know, I was always relatively smart. I could memorize things. And everything back then in the early 2000s was turned into multiple choice exams. It wasn't hard. So I could go out, get drunk, go to class the next day, you know, get by. It wasn't until I looked down at an anatomy book, you know, during my college years, and I said, I'm going to go be an athletic trainer because I want to get to the NHL. I loved hockey. Hockey was always a big part of my life. It was another escape. Once you're in a hockey rink, they close you in. No one can get in or out. It's a battle. It's gladiator type stuff. You're in there. You're battling for your life. But I loved it because no one could touch me. I was away from my stepmom. She couldn't abuse me, so I was free. But long term, that freedom that's not based in God can't sustain you. So, but I loved the sport, and I was like, I can't get there physically. I didn't have the talent, but I had enough intelligence to, hey, maybe I could do this with my mind. So I went down the athletic training route, looked up a grad school. That same night, I looked at an anatomy book, and I'm like, hey, let's go, to Seton Hall and see what will happen. I had no clue the how, which something that's always stuck with me for anybody out there struggling with wherever they're at. It's not the how, it's the why. If your why is big enough, it'll happen. It's just we get caught up in that how. We get caught up in how am I going to do this? What's the next step? And that's it, is listening to God during all of it if you can. Now, back to where I was, no God yet, even though I'm sure he's looking. I go to grad school, and this is the first time I'm away from all my support structure. I was at undergrad for 5 years, had friends, this and that, and I'm alone. My girlfriend at the time, she's at a school, miles away. She was in Philly, I'm in North Jersey. And it's like, wow, I'm still drinking, still smoking, still trying to get this outside, release, whatever it is. But yet I'm still having to learn a new language, which is the body. The body is basically Latin when you're learning it, all the bones and muscles and all that stuff. But I make it through. I get through a couple of years of grad school, and I find a job at a small school. And that's kind of when I started waking up. I was like, something's not right, because I was told, oh, you have high blood pressure. We need to put you on medication because I got a physical for myself. And I'm like, well, no, I'm supposed to walk the walk. You're supposed to be, as an athletic trainer, the one who shows the athletes how to be as healthy as you could be. So I started to do a lot of research and realized the medical community is not what it's made out to be. I tell a story. I remember this one athlete, this doctor is telling him, hey, we got to do this, this, and this. I get out of the room with the athlete. I'm like, we're doing none of that. We're going to go do these things because this works. And I started learning about that around in 2012. Went paleo, went into the CrossFit realm, and I still do a lot of CrossFit, and I coach it. So it's still my way, even though I'm not in a medical field or as an athletic trainer. I still give back now, but start learning what is my truth, the things I'm kind of holding on to as beliefs of, hey, this will bring me health, and I start sharing it as much as I can. People say CrossFit's a cult. It is a little bit, but there's truth in it. And that's what I always searched for, was truth in whatever it is I was doing. And everybody can teach you something. And that's where, if we have an open mind and let our ego take a step back, everybody can teach you at least one thing. And that's where I've tried to keep that open mind, but I let my ego grow, because once you start going down that sport route and you work your way up professionally, you think you're a lot bigger and better than you really are. And I got out to Sioux Falls, my first hockey job, middle of nowhere, South Dakota. And everybody knows who you are. You're playing games in front of 10,000 people. And you're like, wow, I'm hot stuff. Well, God had a plan for me. This is where I mentioned in the email, I overcame a serious injury. One day I wake up, I got back late from a trip, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be sleeping in, but whatever. I'm going to go try to lift, and I'm going to come home and, take an Adderall because I'm just trying to get high, in essence. I go to the gym and I do a warm up set or two, think I'm good, and I drop a barbell on my back and I dislocate my spine. It is the weirdest feeling in the world when you're on the ground and you can't move. When you have to call for help because your legs, you're staring at them and you're like, move, move, and they won't. That initial shock was just, what's going on? I had a call for help. It's a Sunday morning. No one's in town. My girlfriend at the time, she's 3 hours away in Fargo. My brother was living with me, but he wasn't in town. All the coaches are out of town scouting. No one's there. I'm alone. I don't have God. I don't have family. I have nothing. And Sioux Falls, South Dakota is in the middle of nowhere, America, if anybody knows where it's at. It's also bitterly cold in the winter times, which now I know why people drink up there. With that being said, I get taken to the hospital and doctors are saying, oh, you're never walking again. And I look at him, I go, no, I'm walking out of here. Because I always, for some reason, knew I was going to walk out of there. And this doctor comes in, Dr. Wissam Asifahani from Lebanon, randomly had gone to University of Kentucky for his training. And he was the only one that knew this one tattoo I had. Everybody else was like, oh, he's a Broncos fan. He's like, no, that's the Unbridled Spirit logo. Because I always loved that term, unbridled spirit, because I always kind of had that. So we meet up. We were supposed to meet for some reason. He puts me back together a couple weeks later. I walk out of there, but I'm in this huge brace. The PTs had no clue what to do with me. So thankfully, I had the knowledge I did about the human body so I could reteach myself how to walk. But I had to spend the next 3 months by myself because I couldn't work. My girlfriend was working during the days. I'm watching Netflix all day, maybe going to the pool to do my pool workouts. But for anybody out there struggling, it's that you got to take that step each day. I could have just sat on the couch. I could have just wasted away. I could have been on disability the rest of my life. I could probably, if I wanted to, walk into a doctor's office right now and do that. I don't want to because I feel like I don't want to be a drain on society. I want to give. I want to teach my son how to be a man. So I'm going to the pool and it's dark. Like that time of the year in Sioux Falls, it's dark, it's dreary, it's cold, -9 for highs, just not a fun time to be alone. But I overcome it. Come back a few months later, we end up winning a championship. And on that same day we win, I do that same lift that I hurt myself with. And then I lifted a trophy over my head. I was chasing that ring. It was one of the greatest days of my life. But that only lasts so long because you're always still chasing it. You're not being truly fulfilled each day doing that. But I didn't know that yet. But I'm still on my journey. I'm in the healthcare field. I'm learning what's wrong, what's right. I asked the buddy, hey, why are there certain things in injections? And sadly to say, that guy, he told me, well, Matt, you weren't hurt. You're fine. But I'm like, no, there's stuff in there. He actually died suddenly a couple years ago, which is interesting to think about because the last conversation I ever had with him was about that. And I was trying to tell him, like, this isn't right. But he believed it because he was a med tech and he was in the field. And it's sad, but it is what it is. So I keep working my way up. I get to the NHL and I'm eventually served a steak on a private plane. If you've ever flown private, it's different. They're like, oh, Mr. Hunter, welcome aboard, and everybody's just walking around. Seatbelts are optional. Oh, you're carrying knives and scissors. Who cares? It's a different world when you get there. The NHL, it's called the National Hockey League, but it's colloquially known as the Never Hungry League because there's an endless amount of money. The one thing I learned about professional sports is it is rigged. And I know that because a referee during my time in juniors came up to us and was like, yeah, the front office told us not to let this team win. And I'm looking around, I'm like, hold on a second. That basically means you rigged it. So I don't really watch sports too much anymore because I was behind it. I was behind that closed door. I was behind the curtain. I saw who was there. And it sucks because you get to that level, it's not about love of sport anymore. It's about a job. It's clocking in, clocking out. I'm breaking down earlier each season because it's not fulfilling me. And I jokingly say I caused the Rona because I needed a break, and we had like a month left in the season. It happened. We get sent home, and I was living in New Hampshire at the time, which thankfully up there things were a little more lax. It wasn't like other places in the country here in America, but it was still another very lonely time. I hadn't found God yet, but thankfully I started working for a guy who was doing landscaping, lawns, home improvement stuff. So I started learning things that I didn't as a man. My dad never taught us this stuff. Even though we cut grass growing up, it's like, oh, we just pay money to have someone fix our stuff. Well, that doesn't make you a man. So I started learning some things, and one of the guys I'm working with, like, hey Matt, do you read the Bible? Do you know God? And I was kind of like, what are you talking about, man? But he kept saying it and kept saying it. And eventually I go pick up a Bible and I open it up and it's Proverbs 22:3. Those that see danger seek refuge. Those that don't pay the price. I bastardized the line. Please forgive me. But during the Rona, it's like I felt like it was so synchronistic that it was God saying, Matt, you saw it. You're going to be okay. So do a little bit of work there. I realize I don't have anybody in New Hampshire, and I go try to be around my family. Like I left traveling up and down the Eastern Seaboard because my family's everywhere. Dad's in Ohio, brother's in Florida, and all over the place. And 1 second, I gotta close the door. My little guy's back in.
It's all right.
Hi, so I'm traveling all over the place thinking, hey, I want to reconnect with my family. those are the people that were there with me, at the beginning, and maybe that'll fulfill me. And I'm living out of my car basically, and I'm staying at I can't remember, Mayaca State Forest. I'm living in a tent for like a week in Florida, and I started reading the Bible just from start, Genesis 1:1. And I started reading it, and it felt good. It was like, wow, I need to do this. And I'm in my late 30s, finally doing something I should have done a long time ago. But I'm there. I've started my journey back to God. And I went up to Ohio for Christmas, and I stayed. And that was Christmas 21, because I had had my wallet stolen, had no license, had no home. And my dad was living in Ohio. My stepmom was there. She was dying of lots of things. It was just big to do. So I'm like, I'm going to take care of my dad and my stepmom. Now, during this time, I meet my wife, who's out there thankfully watching our little guy, and she comes up from Florida. We met online. We eventually get pregnant back in early 23. And I look at her, I go, we could do it ourselves. We could do it right here in this room that we were in, because God would do it for us. And I'm not as deep in my relationship with God and Jesus at the time just yet, but it's deepening each day. So my wife, she's a little scared. She doesn't know what to do. I'm still not who I was today. I was still weaker as a man. So we try the medical route. And then 8.5 months in, after having money stolen from us by a midwife, having other midwives basically poison her with some of the testing they have to do, we're doing this ourselves. 8.5 months in, we're just gonna have a home birth by ourselves. And I said, God will watch us. God will get us through. And Paul, when I say I touched God, when you birth your child yourself, it's an experience unlike any other. Now, I wasn't perfect because of certain medical training I had, and I know that if you say certain things, give medical advice, you can get strikes on here, so I won't go too deep into it. But I had a moment where I freaked out, which freaked my wife out, and thankfully it didn't cause long-term issue. But we were able to birth him. I handed my son to my wife, and we laid down in the pool we were in, and it was like, wow, all we need is God, because that's all you need. And it was this like freeing moment of like, it's okay. The problem was I still hadn't really dropped my ego. And my ego exploded. Like I thought I was top of the world. I was better than everybody else. And that caused a lot of, how do I say it, strain on our relationship. Because I was still trying to help take care of my dad, my stepmom, my family. And she was telling me like, Matt, they're not really great people. And I finally realized they weren't. And I was still playing victim in certain ways. And I was still yelling. You know who Bob Ross is?
Yeah.
The painter?
Yeah. I'm aware. Yeah.
Okay. So Bob Ross, he was a first sergeant in the Air Force. So he was always screaming at people. And he said when he was done, he didn't want to scream anymore. And I remember one day back in November of 23, I was like, I'm going to just be like Bob Ross. I'm never going to yell again. Because I was yelling at my dad about things and playing victim. And I'm just like, I'm done. And to this day, outside of dropping an F-bomb when I stub my toe or something, I don't yell. And that's something as a man, if you can control your emotions and you can stay centered and there in whatever it is, you'll be better off and God will be with you. So I use that Bob Ross method. Just don't yell. If you can not yell, you'll be good. So we birthed our son. We eventually were like, where are we going to go? Because my dad was selling the house. My stepmom had died. And we moved out here to Missouri, and I was still people pleasing. And this guy I was apprenticing for, I was trying to please him and nothing ever would. My wife is like, Matt, you got to stop this. It's hurting us. It's hurting our future. You're drained. And I finally said, okay, God, I don't want to be fearful anymore. I started my own business in that same avenue of the guy I was working for, the lawn, landscape, home improvement, back in January. And God has just opened doors, one door after another. I just kept walking through and kept saying hi to people and kept showing up. And I now am at a place where, for the most part, I'm at peace. And for 40 years of my life, I wasn't, because of early childhood trauma, middle childhood or adolescent trauma, all the stuff I did to myself. I shouldn't have what I have, but God has grace, and I'm thankful for all of it. And the one piece that blows me away is how Jesus spoke to me through the birth of my son. Matthew is my given name, and I gave my son Matthew as a middle name because I didn't want to name him after me. I feel like everybody should be an individual. Well, he was born on September 2nd, but labor started on September 1st. So Matthew 9:1-2 in the New International Version, which I have picked up like the Ethiopian Bible sense, which I think is kind of cool to read. But in the version of the Bible I had, it said, Jesus heals a paralyzed man. And I'm thinking to myself, I just birthed my son. I was once paralyzed, and that correlates to the verse in the book of the Bible that we share names on. Jesus is real, man, and God's the truth. And it's just like I get to live with this memory for the rest of my life. But I also know that I have a lot of responsibility with this because if I were to step off that narrow path now, I feel like I'd be judged even harsher because I've been spoken to, because I was shown certain things. And that's what I get to teach my son, William. And hopefully, whoever's listening can hear this and go, okay, hold myself to a standard, take responsibility. God will speak to you, Jesus will speak to you. You just have to get to a place to where you are able to listen. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just wanted to share that for those out there that maybe you're struggling and don't see the light. There's light. It's coming. Even in a time where everybody's trying to scream darkness and division, let it go. Doesn't matter. God's out there and he'll show you the narrow path. So
Amen.
that's why I wanted to come on here. So yeah, amen. I appreciate it.
No, that was amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Matthew. I really appreciate it. And obviously, happy birthday to your son in 2 days' time for you, I think it is. It's only a day away from me.
Yeah.
I've just come up with some. No, it's tomorrow, isn't it? Is it 31st today? It's the 31st. So tomorrow.
Today's the 31st. Yeah, it's on the 2nd. So yeah, he'll be 2-1 Tuesday.
There you go. Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Yep. I mean, your story there. I think there was so much that people who listening can relate to in a big way. I especially like that phrase about if you want to do something, it's not so much the how it's going to happen, but more the why you're doing it that counts. And if your why is strong enough, then it will happen. And I can really relate to that big time just with having this channel and quitting my job as a supermarket manager to go on my own. And it's kind of the motivation is, why am I doing that? It's simply because I don't want to waste my life working for a company that doesn't care about me, people pleasing, just like you. I have the same issue. Like I would say yes to everything. I would always stay late or go the extra mile for people who don't care. And it's kind of, my wife is probably like yours in a way. She's like, what are you doing? These people don't care about you. They're terrible. Why are you wasting your time? Why are you doing this for them? And it's kind of, and she doesn't take any nonsense. And it's kind of, in a way, it has rubbed off on me a little bit as the years have gone by. And, and like I said, without her, I wouldn't have taken that leap of faith to do this and be where and look where it ended up. And obviously, I just had a child by that point as well, my first son. And you do have this motivator. It's kind of, I'm doing it for him. That's why I want my son to respect me and grow up and realize, he's self-sufficient, and I want him to know that you don't have to go and work for some corporation or some company. You can do something with yourself, and you can make it on your own, and to live by example. And it sounds like that's probably something you were also thinking in your own way, and it seems like you're doing that right now. Yeah. And also, I did like this part of the story about the idea that
very much so
that you said, like, you were getting sick of the unfulfillment from trying to fill it with, and your vice was sports or exercise, shall we say, in some way, or maybe like the vanity that comes with looking good or having that superiority, that strength, that type of thing, gaining. Is that really where your focus was? Would you say more so?
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the NHL level, you're at the top of your game. Like, you think you're bigger than everyone else. But I knew that my spirit was like, Matt, that's not truly who you are. And I was always trying to fill it with vices outside of the rink. Because you're at the rink and it's game day, like, cool, it builds you up, but then you got to be back the next day for practice, and it sucks and it's boring, and it's the same thing over and over every day for 10 months straight. No breaks, no days off. You're there, especially as an athletic trainer. But it wasn't fulfilling me because after juniors, it turns into a job. When you're in the professional leagues, those guys clock in, clock out like everybody else. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them are really good guys, But I still know things about some of these guys that they don't want to see the light of day. Not
Mm.
all of them, but it happens. You know, you go out on the road. Are you really being faithful? Are you being true? Are you being honest? You know, but there were also still some great relationships I made. Like when we won our championship, there are guys that I could call up right now that I consider brothers, that I can take those memories and those relationships with me forever. You know, because that's what we take with us is our memories. And I
Yeah.
always wanted to be a good person, even though, yes, it was pushed by that people pleasing aspect, but now it's serving God.
Hmm.
And I feel I'm so much more fulfilled serving God, being there for my family, my son, my wife, and then making the relationships I am in this little small town in Missouri. And you know, it seems like everybody tells me, Matt, there's work to be had. No one shows up. It's either druggies or someone who's going to charge too much money. And I was so worried, man. I lived fearfully, even though the Bible says, you know, 365 times, don't fear. We're better than the birds. God will feed you. And I've gotten to a point in the season where things are slowing down with grass. It hasn't really rained, but I told my wife yesterday, I was like, if I didn't have work for the next 6 months, we're good. Like I went out there, did it. God gave it to us, and we can spend time together. And I'd recommend being your own boss. If you can be your own boss in any way, there was a day this week I just was like, nope, not working, staying home. None of us slept. You sleep. I'll watch him. Like I couldn't have done
Hmm.
that if I was working for, as you said, a company that doesn't care for you.
Hmm. No, it sadly, it's the situation most people are in as well, which is why I think hearing these type of stories that you can. I made a video ages ago
Yeah.
saying if your job is killing you, quit. Like you don't need them. It's got. I think people are
Yeah.
brainwashed to think we
Yeah.
need them. In some way. Find ways to make
Mhm.
value, and if you can have anything of value to offer, a skill of any kind, monetize it, use it, put yourself out there, and
Oh yeah.
and it's kind of like if you give yourself a safety net in a way as well. Like, well, I can always go back and work for the company again. In a way, you kind of you're stopping yourself from going forward. This might sound like terrible advice on the surface, but I found it actually really does work if you just believe in yourself and go for it. As cheesy as it sounds, And you
Mhm.
described there, you were clocking in, clocking out, doing this. It became a job. Well, it sounds like the greatest job in the world to an
Mhm.
outsider. Look at that, a famous NHL
Yes.
player. You know what I mean? Like, I would kill for his position. It's kind of when you're actually in it. No, it's not that great. It's a job. You have to do it to pay
Mhm.
the bills. And it sounds to me like that kind of life is those. A lot of the men in that probably their life will be over before they know it, and they wouldn't have done anything else but what you just described: train,
Yeah.
play. And when it comes down to it, they did nothing in the grand scheme of things. They
Yep.
played a game their entire life. That's all they did. And that's fixed from the sounds of it. Well, it was all just a show. And I think in a way that can relate to
To
any
a
job.
point. Yep.
Any job, you wake up one
Mhm.
day, you've been working for a company for 30 years. It's time to retire and you're too old to
Yeah.
do anything, Do you really want to be in that
Mhm.
position? And I think as Christians, especially, we're called to, again, be more, do more, and if you can't quit the job, use your spare time to do more instead and make it so you are not your job. Because a lot of people identify with the work as though that's who they are as well. And I'd say, no, don't do that. Never do that.
Yep.
They don't care about you. Honestly, you're replaceable. Like, as much as they say you're irreplaceable, you're not irreplaceable. And you say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing at any moment, they'll drop you like that and they won't even think twice about it.
Yep.
Oh, the budget's getting a bit tight, got to make cutbacks, you're gone. You are replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. But I think a lot of people
Mhm.
identify, and again, they get these false illusions. And I think as Christians, we're called to realize, God's got your back. He's the only boss that's worth answering to. And
Yep.
often he calls you out. He's like, you got to go and do this. You got to go do it. You got to quit your job, Paul. Go and quit your job. Do
Yep.
your thing. You do it. You'll be. I'm like, what about the bills? I've got a kid on the way. What am I supposed to do? He's like, no, go quit your job. Do it. Your wife's got your back. It's fine. Just go for it. And
Yep.
sometimes it does take a leap of faith. It sounds like you made it. And I commend you because you were in a big position. You had it
Yeah.
all. In many ways. So good for you.
I
Awesome.
had it all. And then late 2020, I'm offered a mask and something else. And my spirit was like, no, I can't. And I left. And even though I had no clue how it was going to go, it turned out okay. So no matter what you got to do, listen to your heart and try to find God, because that is the only boss that matters outside of your wife, especially if she's a mom, because that's the only job that matters, in my opinion. Moms, that's it. Everything else supports it, 100%.
Yeah, I try my best to support my wife in everything she wants to do. She's a creative mind herself, you know, and she has dreams and aspirations and desires beyond just being a mum, you know. And I try to support everything we can to do that as well. But in terms of like parenting, that is really, even I'm glad I'm at home because it's a full-time job. Just parenting is a full-time job on the side of doing this as well. And it's fulfilling. I'm truly blessed. I know I'm in a good position. Like I get to do what I love to support my family, which is this, and I get to be with my family and spend time with my family. And that's something you can only really get, like you said, if you're self-employed and you really do manage your own time. And I'd hope everybody could get in a position like that, but I know the world's hard. I know it's tough and it's easier said than done. But I would implore anybody to at least try once, just to try and get in that position where you can be self-employed. And like I said earlier, you know, at the end of the day, if you do fail, you can always go work for some company somewhere, or a job will turn up. Like you said, you got into manual labor, learn some skills, got a trade, that type of thing. You know, that's kind of that's good. That's what you need. You know, work with your hands.
So the thing I would say is be self-taught, or what is that? Autodidactic or some term.
That's the phrase.
Teach yourself. YouTube University, man. Like, there are things that I have done that the night before I was looking up how to do it. And then it's like, I'm like that. I love memes. That's kind of like my entertainment. I'm like that doll that's like looking opposite directions. Like, am I allowed to do this? And then I say, hey, yeah, you know, $300, and people throw it at me. I'm like, okay, I'm glad I learned that last night. But God's looking over your shoulder, you know, especially if you're trying to serve God and you're wanting to do the right thing the right way. And that's what I will teach William. And I had this local kid I've had help me a little bit. And I said, we're going to do it the right way the first time, even if it's harder, even if it takes more time, even if we don't make as much money, because in the long term, it creates that relationship, and then it creates something that's more beautiful, you know. And that's what I want to create, beauty in the world. Yeah. The fixer of ruins, some Isaiah verse. I remember seeing that. I love, like, this little barn dominium we're in. When I first moved here, I spent 3 months redoing it as an apprentice on this dairy farm, and it's beautiful, but it took hard work. It took dedication, but now I get to stay, even though I'm renting and I'll have to leave one day, we get to live in relative comfort together, let her keep recovering and grow our life. You know, I'm, as you said, you're blessed. I'm blessed. And there are times I'm just like, God's given me everything I never thought I could have.
Amen. Well, I'm glad to hear it, Matthew. I really am. And it sounds like your story will inspire many people, I'm sure. And someone there just said, just a mum. Hell no, I'm with your guest 100%, saying mum is the only job that matters. Everything else supports it. Yeah, I wasn't saying like my wife doesn't want to be just a mum. I'm just saying she's
I got what
great
you
mum,
said. No, yeah.
And also has other aspirations as well on top of that. And that's great, you know. But like I said,
and so does she.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they are also people with their own desires and dreams and hopes. You know, we can never forget that. But yeah, that being said, we'll have to leave it there because we're at the 49-minute mark for the show. I'm going to have a quick break and get the next guest on. But Matthew, stay in touch. I know we've got a thing going on behind the scenes as well. So again, we'll talk about that soon. And once I've finished my side project, we'll definitely connect about that again.
Do your thing.
But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Enjoy. I'll listen to the rest of the show, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
God bless, brother. Take it easy.
God bless.
And there we go. Fantastic. Yeah, that was good. That was a great testimony, wasn't it? I really enjoyed that. Those are the type of stories we want here on the Truth Therapy sessions, and we're all in it together. And I think, again, there's a stigma for conspiracy theorist types or truther types or whatever you want to label us. There's many labels people give to us, or whatever you want to call yourself. People who have kind of, fallen into that rabbit hole, Warren hole maze of discovering all that glitters isn't gold, shall we say. And people have this image of us as like whack job crazies who have no business being connected to civilization whatsoever or something like this. But really, no, the high range hockey players. You know what I mean? They were the people in society, within civilization, who, you may have even idolized at one point, who at some point wake up one day and say, no, this ain't right. We're just people. Every one of us are just like everybody else. We're not, like, don't get me wrong, there are some absolute nut jobs in this community who do give us a bad name and a bad image. But the majority of the time, 99.9% of the time, we're just people like everybody else. And it's easy to get lost behind the screen name sometime, behind the handle that we call ourselves. And people become faceless, just faceless keyboard warriors, shall we say. But when you get them here in front of you and you actually speak to them, I think it's a profound thing, and it's a healthy reminder that that person is just like everybody else. We're all in on this together. Anyway, I'm going to have a quick break there. I'm going to do maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll get the next guest on. I'm just going to take this time to email him. So if you're listening, you're going to get an email soon for the Zoom link. Click on the link. It should send you into a meeting, and I can admit you in, and we can get going. But in the meantime, guys, I'm just going to play a song while I'm letting it run. I'll just do the usual today. I'm not in the mood to get fancy and figure some stuff out. I'm just going to play Endurance by Judah Sargent, as always, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. So here we go.
I heard him shout, "See, still ashes." I cried steadfast as my blood dripped on out. Yeah. 40 men swore to an oath not to swallow one thing till my death. I'd fight, but it be in your hands. God, my scars are ready to beg, privilege to trust you. I'll worship and stay, anguish burning in my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to I'd see before I'd ever think this would go down. A second more will keep my knee from above. Yeah. Bowed are my hands beyond bars to chains for you. Sings a sweet song to break free, but I will be home soon. Battered by Euro glide on to get across the sea, and gotta follow my captain in the sky. God, my scars are ready to beg, privilege to trust you. I'll worship and stay at anguish burning in my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to scars are ready to beg. Privileged to trust you, I'll worship instead. Anguish burning in my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to hold, to pray. Thank you,
And we are back. There we go. As always, Judas Sargent, the Endurance. A song I do seem to play at every single live show, as Danny L like to point out there. And you know, I like it. I like his music, and I think it's good to support him and get more people knowing about who he is and what he does. He goes by Yahweh and the Vagabond on Spotify. I'm sure someone might be kind enough to post a link there for me quickly, so you can go check him out. And he does have some great songs on there as well. He's a brother in Christ, he's a listener of the show, and I think it's a good way to support him. And I really like that one. If anyone else out there does make quality music and wants to send me something that I can play on my channel that won't give me a copyright strike, because that does happen when people try and send me their music, then yeah, by all means, send something in and I'll play it at the half time if I like it. And I think it's worth sharing with you guys. I'm sorry if I'm a harsh critic, though. You know, I'm not. I don't like every style of music myself, you know, but I'll try my best to accommodate most people. So that is an option that's open if we want to mix it up a little bit more. So there we go, guys. That's, if you didn't know, you could send me your music if you're a musician out there, and I'll play it. People have sent me music in the past, and I'm not going to lie, a lot of it's been buried in my emails, and I forgot about it, and I don't know where to find it anymore. So if anyone wants to remind me of any music they've already sent me in the past, let me know. And maybe I can get it back onto like a roster or like some kind of playlist somewhere where I can quickly hit play and get those going. Or maybe I should just play some of my own music in between instead and just keep shilling my own stuff non-stop. But that being said, guys, the next guest is in the waiting room. So let me just quickly admit them into that. And we'll make sure no technical issues. So I'm going to mute his volume for you guys for now, so you won't be able to hear him. And I'm going to just admit him in now, so we can get it all sorted. There we go. Hey, man, can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you again. And once again, so let me just quickly close that audio. Mute. Okay, it says I should be able to hear you. Do you want to just try again? I can. There we go. It's all come through. Yeah, it's something on my end. It happens every time. So bear with me. I'm just going to quickly go over to my studio. I'm going to share the screen, and your audio is now active, so they can hear you speak, Ari. So thanks for doing this. You emailed me maybe about a week ago now. I think we were going to get you on, but then we had to postpone it, I think, didn't we? Or something like that, because technical issues. I think something got in the way. And yeah, you said like... Sure. Yeah, I think you said you had maybe a story you wanted to tell about your kind of coming to the truth. And you're quite young yourself. I believe you're 19, about to turn 20.
Yeah, 19, turning 20 in less than 4 months now.
Right, well, there you go. I'll tell you what, mate, enjoy it, because it all goes downhill from about 27 is what I've learned. That's when things start to break. So you've got a good 8-7 years left in your knees yet, at least. So enjoy that while you still can. But other than that's quite a shocking demographic for me, because if I go to my YouTube statistics, nobody really between the age brackets of 18 to like 20 something are really watching any of my videos whatsoever. It's like 0.1%, even if that. It's mainly like millennials and Gen Xers who are kind of primarily watching my kind of thing, you know. So I really don't find people within your age range kind of in the conspiracy realm, at least not on YouTube. Maybe they're all on other platforms or something. Maybe they're all on, I don't know, TikTok or something. I don't know what the kids are listening to these days. Showing my age, but again, I was quite surprised when you said how young you were. What is it exactly you want to talk with me about today? I'll give the floor to you for a little bit.
Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was just kind of like my upbringing, like coming to Christ and how my dad was able to help me get there.
Hmm.
Because I figure as well, like for parents that have, kids that are around my age, still in their teenage years, this story could also help them in some sort of way, maybe getting around to them if right now, for instance, they don't exactly believe. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Should I start the story or
Yeah,
do
well,
you want to
just a
say?
bit of advice before we begin. Don't worry about the show.
Yeah,
Don't watch that. Don't
yeah,
look
yeah,
at the numbers. This is just me and you having a conversation. You're just talking to me,
yeah.
and I'm listening. So,
Well,
yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
I guess we'll just start off with my childhood. I'll start with the childhood. So from the time I was born, I was Catholic, and when I say Catholic, I mean like I was kind of forced into it, I guess. Like at that age, I was born baptized Catholic, and then had to go to church. My mom put me
Hmm.
in a Catholic school, like elementary school. I went to a Catholic elementary school, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not something I enjoyed really. Like the school itself was actually good. Like despite it being Catholic, I mean the people there were still good. Teachers there were good. Had a bit of a rough upbringing as a child. I mean, there was definitely some things that have happened that you know, you wouldn't exactly some things with parenting, you could say, and just kind of that stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah. And then after I got out of elementary school, that was kind of it for me going to church and stuff. It kind of was just a turn away. And then from then on, I just kind of did my own thing. And then after COVID, like in 2020, that's when the awakening happened. Well, for
Hmm.
my dad first. Um uh so my dad had woken up to some of the things that had been happening, like realizing that, these this COVID vaccine stuff wasn't right or some things I don't want to say too much about that just in case the algorithm.
Yeah, there's limits to what you can really say, but we all know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. So use use any language you want,
Yeah.
code words, and we'll know what you mean. So don't worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then my dad started introducing the idea of God to me. Now, like with me, like he was very patient. Like it was almost like he wasn't exactly trying, but at the
Hmm.
same time, he had to try in some sort of way. He can't just carelessly go and do it. But
Hmm.
he would try and we would talk and like there's only so much I could take at the time. Like before I was like, Dad, like I can't like I've had it like I can't take anymore, like stop. But it was just it was just patience really. Like that how he got it through to me. Like even though at the beginning I might not have seemed like I was interested or anything, like and that was also like when I was a teenager, like much more of a teenager. I mean, I would have been 15 years old at that time, so I would have
Hmm.
been like right in those prime teenage years when you know, the kids are misbehaving
Yeah.
and all the shenanigans are happening. But yeah, even at that age, I mean, he just was very patient. And the other thing as well is that we had a really good relationship already, which is I think very important as well. Like as a parent, like trying to talk to their kids about these things, like having that relationship is a very like it's definitely a helper when it comes
Hmm.
to those kinds of things. But yeah, it was really patience actually with my dad. I mean, the thing is as well, like it's kind of a hard thing to also say, but you can't save everybody either, right? I know it's your own kid, but I mean, look at Jesus. Even he couldn't convince everybody. He couldn't turn everybody to God. And that was Jesus out of all people. So at the end of the day, it's just going to be patience. You can't force a seed to grow. When you plant that seed of truth, it's really just you can try and plant it, but if that seed doesn't want to grow, it doesn't want to grow.
Hmm.
Forcing it, not going to work. But
It's quite
Yeah, it's
wise.
kind
That's a
of
wise words, to be honest. Yeah, and I couldn't have really put it better myself. I've even made videos about this, literally saying you're not going to save everyone. You're not going to do it. And plus, we don't save anybody anyway. It's Jesus that does the saving.
yeah,
What always works, we plant seeds and hope for the best. It's literally all
yeah,
we can do. And it sounds like your father, we really did take his time and just do what he
oh yeah,
could and hope for the best. And it looks like it works. It paid off. Good for him.
yeah. And the other thing as well, like it was really just keeping an open mind as well. Because at first we actually believed in the rapture, like we believed that it was coming, like, oh yes, this September, whatever date it was, like, oh yes, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But this was also very early. Like when we started off, we started believing in the rapture and stuff, but it was by keeping an open mind, right? And then my dad introduced me to biblical cosmology. Wink, wink. We know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he also introduced me to that, and then after that, he came across the video and watched it. It was about the little season, and then from there it was really just like, okay, like we looks like we were wrong about this. Like Jesus, like looking at Jesus's words, he was talking about, the generation in front of him, not 2000 years later,
Mm-hmm. Oh
right?
yeah.
But again, it was keeping an open mind. I mean, my dad's done an amazing job for sure, getting me to where I am now. And I mean, our Heavenly Father, of course, allowing just, blessing continually and spreading this knowledge. And there's just so much. It's overwhelming just talking about it right now, just the amount of blessings that you get and like the amount of blessings and just the way my life kind of worked out. Because so back a few years ago, I started racing, actually karting, because I had an interest to go into car racing, like the big goal Formula One, right?
Hmm.
And I'm in a way, I'm looking back at it now. So last year was actually my last season of racing before I said enough. Like it wasn't in me to do it anymore. Just had a change of heart, want to change what I was doing, and I'm glad that it didn't work out. Just based on, like all like who knows if I would have come to God or not, especially if I was in Europe racing, like it's whole different circumstances, right?
Hmm.
Got more money and just, you know, and who knows what I would have had to have done if I had even gotten there. Like, those top athletes, what they have to do to get into those positions.
That's true.
Definitely grateful. And, like it didn't work out, and I see it as a blessing more than anything that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
A blessing in disguise, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you got your whole life ahead of you. You're way ahead of the
Yeah.
game. Like, if you're like thinking about these things and you've already sussed out that the deception and the lies that suppress people and keep them where they are. I mean, the world's your oyster right now, to be honest, because you're not going to be fooled or deceived very easily, or making
Yeah.
many of the mistakes many of us make when we're still kind of lost in the world. So yeah, blessed is a brilliant word for it. I wish I knew half the things when I was your age. I'm sure many people listening right now, because I know my demographic, my listeners are old. I know they are, so they're probably looking at you like, I wish my son was like that. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're also
I
thinking,
want to say that.
great for you for figuring it out so early. Really, when I was 19, I was smoking weed every day, partying, seeking out mystical experiences through psychedelics, and just kind of living for the now, self-centered, narcissistic, hedonistic, with dreams of being an artist, making nonsense, and just living for the now, and not really focusing on anything important of a value or in any way, shape, or form. And I was lost. I was lost in the world, and I was a bad person, narcissistic, self-centered, egotistical, just not really caring about other people or anything. And it seems like you're in a much better position than I was. It took 5 years from that point, and I think I would have been 23, 24 years old when I was born again. And even then, it took
Well,
10 years, a decade, for me to get myself straight and sort everything out and fix the mistakes I made. And it's kind of you're in a very good position. So I'm kind of envious in a way. Good for you.
well, it's my dad helped. I mean,
Yeah.
having my dad kind of like having that backing from, from that age. I mean, it's still kind of late. I mean, at the age of 15, but still, I mean, just to have that kind of support, to have your parents still, or my parent, I should say my dad, um, uh, just kind of who's helping me. He's giving me that head start right now,
Hmm.
and I'm grateful for it. I mean, I could have been completely different had it not been for him, and who knows where I would have been right now.
Well, who knows? I mean, just out of curiosity, just while I've got you here, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit because you're in like a very
Yeah.
unique situation, you know. Have you attempted to tell any of your friends about these things, or have you maybe hit any roadblocks with them, or what? How are the younger generation? Are you Gen Z technically? Is that what it's classed as?
I don't even follow any of that stuff.
Fair enough.
Really, I
Well,
just
people your age
yeah.
then, whatever. Are
Yeah.
they more open to this information than perhaps an older generation were? I'm just curious. Like,
Yeah.
what's the reaction? If you, do you even tell people? Because
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't always recommend it personally. You know, and if
Yeah.
you've watched my tips, but how have you found it?
Well, with me, I mean, it's hard to tell your friends because they're people that you like, and in no way do you want to burn that bridge, but you feel like by telling them these things, you're gonna burn that bridge or you're gonna turn them away. And there's the fear of losing, but at the same time, like the way I've also kind of looked at it now is either you lose them in this world or you lose them in eternity. So, I mean, which one, pick which one you want, right? And at the end
Mm,
of the day, for me, I mean, I have tried to tell my friends about it, but it hasn't exactly gone well. I mean, the ones that were easiest to speak to were the ones that were awake about the kind of the fake pandemic that happened, kind of that.
mm,
They were the easiest ones to tell because they were already a bit more awake than others, right?
mm,
But even then, like I don't really know how much of it stuck, and then eventually I just kind of fell out of the friend group. I just couldn't really be in there anymore because I found myself small talking, which I really hate. Like I couldn't speak to them like the things that were on my heart. So at that point I kind of just said enough. Like they were they were doing the things that they wanted to do, you know, and on top of that the swearing and stuff in the calls and just the things that were being said in there. It wasn't a good environment for me anymore. So at one point I just kind of stopped, deleted Discord. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, I still talk to them every once in a while, but like nothing about this kind of stuff now that
mm,
that I've learned. And I mean, I try to talk to others as well. I had another friend that I spoke with him for a while and well it ended up working out a bit. Like he ended up listening, he ended up turning to Christianity. Whether it was me that influenced it or if it was something else that did it, I really don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just grateful that he turned, but it's hard. Like it's getting that conversation started with somebody and being able to like actually hold the conversation without turning them away from it. So
mm. It is. It's tough. It's really tough. You've got a. It's a mountain to climb, to be honest. And look,
yeah,
I think me, myself, and people listening, we've not got much advice beyond, like you said, say your piece and move on, because it's everyone has their own kind of battle going on within their own mind of whether or not to align themselves with the truth or learn things that they might not want to know about, or to continue living the lie because it gives them benefits and it's comfortable, you know. And you make enemies very quickly when you start trying to pull people out of their comfortable lies. Like it's a really tough,
yeah,
it's a tall order, it's a tall task. Maybe in many ways, I think it is just for us to, you know, give our opinion, let it fall wherever it falls, and move on, and don't push or make a thing of it. Like I said, patience, like you said earlier, is probably the
yeah,
best thing, and never be forceful or push. And it's interesting because you talk about 2020, you know, big deal for a lot of people, and
yeah,
that did actually wake so many people up. And you're obviously a part of that new wave of truthers, I would call them. I think the most recent introduction or injection of truth of people to the community came with that particular event. It was an eye opener for many, you know.
yeah,
But and again, we don't want to get too deep into the details exactly, but like,
yeah.
what was that process for you specifically? You know, maybe again, be careful with your language here. But what
Yeah.
was it that kind of, why did you question, you know,
But
when so many other people
yeah,
didn't? You know.
funny, like with me actually, so I was still kind of blind to it at the time. It wasn't like, again, like I have to give credit to my dad again because it was my dad that questioned it more than me. I was just kind of, you know, going along and my dad was the one that kind of said like we aren't gonna take
Hmm.
the thingies that go in your arms. We aren't gonna take those. Like he still believed that. He still believed in that stuff at the time, but he said let's wait and see because these were just brand new things. And sure enough, I guess it was after the side effects or after seeing how it rolled out, he realized that no, this isn't the best. So it was really the early years of my dad, like kind of guiding me into it. Because again, had I not had my dad, I would have been maybe on the same boat as everybody else right now.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that
fair
was
enough.
kind of, yeah. And then of course, like, and the thing is, like, we're never taught that in school either, how to think critically. We're just taught what to think. Like, they're teaching us what to think or like what to think basically. Like, here's the textbook, read out of it. We're going to give you questions based on what you read, instead of teaching you how to teach yourself, like how to question things, how to analyze, like how to, and that's the thing, like teaching yourself is such a crucial thing. And I've kind of realized that over these past few years, like with the stuff I'm doing now, like with the work that I'm doing, like I just taught myself how to do it rather than going to college or university, and I'm having a great time
Hmm.
in essence. Like I'm actually enjoying what I'm learning versus going to school, waking up early, having to listen to somebody at the front of the classroom for hours or whatever. Now I can just learn whatever I wish to learn, and I can do what I want really. Like I have a lot of freedom right now and I'm very grateful for it.
Well, you never stop learning. Trust me. And
Yeah.
self-directed learning is the best. Like I said, learn how to think, not what to think. Is a good way of phrasing it. And I found, if you find something interesting, go and find out more about it yourself, and
Yeah.
and more often when you really do research into things, you find there's actually many schools of thought surrounding a particular topic, and there's never just one definitive way of viewing it or answers. But school tends to go down the route of this is the way you should think about it. This is the only official narrative that you should be following, And you find
Yeah.
it's always way more complicated than that when you just scratch below the surface just a little bit. And I'm looking at the chat here while we're talking, and people are actually saying
Yeah.
like that. I've got 16-year-olds listening, 19-year-olds, Gen Z are saying they're here, and that's actually, again, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. So while people are listening right now, just quickly, if you are like of a young age, put your age in the chat right now. I want to see it. Just everyone, just say, if you're under 25, let's say, put your age in the chat right now and just quickly shout it out, because I'm curious about my own demographic. Who's listening now? Because I think things have changed drastically in the last 5 years. Because like I said, I've been doing this since like 2012, 2011, 2010, 2012. I started the channel in 2014. And it really did feel like it was just like millennials and older like boomer generations, or say Gen X generation. They were really the only ones in this community. Like young people just didn't care. They were not interested, not even close. They weren't even in a place where they could even relate whatsoever, But now in the last 5 years, I feel like everything's different. I feel like the younger generation are what people are calling based. They're just absolutely anti-authoritarian, anti-establishment, but not like crazy left-wing liberal types. More like not what the government wants types. You know what I mean? More like,
Yeah.
I'm not, like, based is the word, They're just not interested, like, at all. Checking out, shall we say. Doing their own thing, and just not listening to questioning the teachers just at no end. I've got the ages coming now. I've got 24, 49, 31, 40, 52, 56, 69. See, this is the age bracket I'm usually seeing. People say I'm young. Like, I always get people telling me I'm young for doing this. I guess it's good to show them, like, no, younger people are getting into this now. And it's amazing to see. I feel like God is moving in huge ways currently. And I think 2020 definitely did that in a big way. And you're evidence. You and your dad obviously are evidence of this. I said 25 and under, old fart, says Wendy. Yeah, that's right. It's powerful to see young people tuning in, showing hearts and searching for truth, says Gloss and Gospel. We got... I cared about learning truth since I was a child and questioning our reality. I like to think quite a lot of people who become truthers do tend to, from an early age, have this in us, like an inquisitiveness that's like just not quite like everyone else around us in a way. I'm not trying to say we were special in a sense, but I felt like we were just more inclined to think a bit more. I don't know. I can't really explain it, I remember going to the libraries on my own and choosing to read books on my own outside of what the school was telling me to read when I was a kid, and that was rare. And I don't know why I was like that. And it sounds like you yourself are very similar. What's this? We got 26, 61, 39, revolutionists. Yeah, the younger generations are revolutionists. Yeah.
Yeah, with me actually, with school, it turned me away from learning actually. Like I would go to school, learn, and then I'd come home and just want to play video games pretty much. It wasn't until after I graduated, I mean, my dad would send me videos and I would even struggle just to watch some of them for over a period because I just was sick of learning, I guess, because of school. Like school is really just it's horrible. But
Hmm.
eventually when I got out of school and I started kind of like again, it's just being given that freedom, right? Like my dad kind of was like, "You know what? Like I was still racing at the time, so I still had things I was doing, but my dad didn't like kick me out of the house. He didn't force me to get a day job. Like he was very patient, and that was the other thing as well that really helped me, I think. A matter of just giving me freedom, like because when you're a kid, like you don't have freedom. Like going to school is not freedom. Like it's a day job, essentially.
Hmm.
It's just for beginners, a beginner day job, right? But as my dad gave me this freedom, that's when I started also having a change of heart and things that I was doing. I started wanting to learn more. I started wanting to research the things I was researching, learn about the Bible, learn about just it it really just made me want to do more learning. And I mean, knowledge is a very handy tool, that's for sure. Something I've
Well,
learned.
oh, it is. Yeah. The more you know, the better, really. Knowledge is power in this world. I think a lot of people have been keeping knowledge hoarded secretly to themselves in order to exert power over people as well, because if you keep
Oh
people
yeah.
ignorant and make sure they don't know what they don't know, then you have power over them. So, but I think more power to the people. I feel like we are learning a lot more these days about what the truth of the matter is and reclaiming our sovereignty and entering into the kingdom of Jesus Christ instead, where no man rules over us or dictates who we are going to be and what we are going to do and how we're going to do it. And again, you are very lucky, Ari, to be in this situation at such a young age.
I know.
But I feel at the same time, maybe this is becoming more common than I thought. Now, I think the younger generations. I'm hopeful. That they're gonna change things in big ways that we failed at. We failed. Our generations failed. I mean, most millennials my age are fully in the system, and they
Yeah.
are the current thing. Facebook's profile picture changing NPC types. You know what I mean? And they're all for the climate change agenda and tax the rich, and they're all this. They've just got this social justice warrior. We invented the social justice warriors, our generation. We were sorry. We're so sorry. But most of them are there still. They're in there and they haven't really come out of it. And so it's what do you call it? A sunken cost fallacy. It's like they've already invested so much into being that person that they can't go back on it now in their own minds. It's kind
Yeah.
of, I feel like that. And your generation doesn't seem to have that issue. I feel like you've entered into a world so utterly destroyed and with no prospects, like the future's so uncertain for your generation because you just don't know how you're going to pull it back from the mess everyone else has made. And I feel like in a way that's why they're thinking we're just going to make our own. I feel like that's the attitude of the younger generation. That's just my 2 cents. I don't, maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
I don't know. You think?
No,
Do you
I
get that feeling? I mean, you would know. You're there. What have you got for me?
well, I totally agree with you. In fact, me and my dad were just talking about that. I mean, how do you tell somebody that's believed in something for over 20 years that, that they're wrong versus somebody that is, like you weren't thinking about conspiracies at the age of 10. Like or it's not at all common, but maybe starting from the age of 13, 14, 15, right? So, but if you're only 5 years into this conspiracy stuff or any of these things really, it's not like your life has been dedicated to it, right? So
Hmm.
you still are young enough to make that change in yourself without feeling like you've just wasted like your life. But
Yeah.
you have people that have been preaching the rapture for 25, 30 years. You try to tell them like that's not what Christ had said, then it's for them it's going to be a lot harder. I mean, they have so much to give up. They've basically just you've been telling people the wrong thing for 30 years. That's a lot to digest, right?
And then some
But
19-year-old kid comes up to me. It's like, nah, you got it all wrong. And like, who the hell are you?
yeah,
What do you know? You know, like, what was it, like
exactly.
7 years ago, you were 12. You know, it's kind of like,
Well, and
what
that's
do
the
you
other
know?
thing as well.
But the
They,
thing is, I've encountered it. I've talked about the little season plenty, you know, and I've encountered those types you're talking about, and their attitude really is a case of, it's like, well, I went to seminary school and I've been reading the Bible for over 40 years of experience, and it's like, I know exactly what it says and what it means, and it's kind of like, no, you just got indoctrinated by a school. Just like everybody
yeah,
else did, you know, you just thought yours was special because it was Christ-centric, you know. But realistically, it's a programmed agenda, you know. And you would take the words, the red letters at face value, and Christ was very clear. He told those
yeah,
people standing right in front of him, you're going to see me come back in this time. Don't worry about it, you know. Yeah, you know, just be patient. I'll be here in a generation, but less than a generation. I'll be back in no time, you know.
yeah,
And we have to take it seriously if we want to say we're Christians and believe him and follow his way. And yeah, then we have to say, yeah, he told the truth and everything else is a lie. And that's just too much. That's too much for a lot of people, especially the Christians who have been peddling the futurist, dispensationalist, rapture theology type thing for their entire life. Imagine that, you know. And again,
yeah,
I'm young. I'm still young. I'm 33, you know, and like I said, you're young. So it's
yeah,
easy for us, like I said, to not have that sunken cost issue. It's kind of like, I haven't invested so much into that worldview like you have. But at the same time, credit where credit's due. I have had a lot of pastors contact me saying this has changed everything for them and they are willing to reconsider. Like, I have had those messages from people. So it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I find the ones who attack, they're the ones who are like, I've got books where I said the rapture's happening on this date. You know, I've got like, I have a ministry dedicated around we're living in when Christ is about to return. It's kind of like, I will not be made a liar to these followers I have, you know, and also the honest truth is it's a threat to their money. It
yeah.
is. It's a huge threat to their money, you know, because they make a
Well,
lot of money interpreting every event as though it's a sign that Christ is about to return, you know, and it's
yeah.
sad, but that's the truth, you know. They don't like hearing that. No one they'll call me everything under the sun just for even daring to say such a thing. I'll give it to you. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, just looking at YouTube videos as well, you have your videos that get maybe, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views, however many they get, and then you have people preaching the rapture that are like 3.1 million views. It's like, huh? How did that get there? Like it's almost being promoted on like I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating, but like it's being promoted on purpose just to throw people off.
I
To make
feel
them,
like you're right. I think that's a good
yeah,
observation. I did wonder myself. It's kind of like, why is this? If this is such, if the controlling system really is trying to like suppress Christianity and make sure, nobody follows Christ in any way, shape, or form, and it doesn't get saved and this type of stuff for the rapture, is kind of, they wouldn't have these mega churches preachers talking about the rapture, and they wouldn't have these daytime TV shows where you have these preachers talking about the end times and this type of thing either. And again, like you said, the YouTube algorithm, millions of hits. It's millions we're talking. The numbers are
yeah,
huge. And you've got your prophets, modern day prophets everywhere that are promoted. I had a dream, a vision. Jesus told me this date. Jesus told me that time and day, or Jesus gave me a sign or said to interpret this, the stars doing this in this way. It's kind of, it always felt convoluted to me. It always felt a little bit snake oily to me. There's something in my very core was telling me, red flag, danger,
yeah,
something's wrong here. This is uncanny. It's uneasy to listen to, and it wasn't because like I didn't love Jesus. It was because
yeah,
there's something about this that just doesn't work. There's something wrong about it. I can't. And now, obviously, in hindsight, it's kind of, well, yeah, I suppose in a little season you would allow that kind of thing to be spread, that kind of doctrine to be spread quite thoroughly. And yeah, they call us like a threat or like the end times deception. Like the little season is Satan's like end times deception. It's there to deceive people, and it's kind of that's how people are going to make the Antichrist come and like they're trying to pin it as like this is the great delusion. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the little season stuff. Like, I'm like, are you joking me? Me with my 4,000 views over here against your 3 million, and I'm the great delusion that deceives everybody, including the very elect. Are you serious? Like, it's like, when you really get some perspective, it's ludicrous to say such a thing like that. You know, you would have to look in a little season at the prominent beliefs and think that's where the problem probably lies. And we're conspiracy theorists, so we're going to do that anyway. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
That's my
But
view. Go ahead, sorry.
you know, it's something that just came to mind as well. Like a lot of us are like they're thinking inside of us, or even the people that believe in the rapture, like, oh yes, the end times are coming. You know, I'm almost thinking now even maybe there is truth in that. Maybe the end times are coming, just not the end times people are thinking of, or majority are thinking of right now. Because like even with me, like it almost feels like the end has got to like the end is coming. There's got to come soon or something. Like the way the world is going. I mean, look at Agenda 2030, for instance, right? And it was just pointed out as well that, like, it was pointed out to me that with that agenda, there's not really anything after 2032. Like there's not really much after that date. So, or after 2030, it's as if like, you know, they haven't really planned much after that. So it's like, you know, maybe there's truth in that. Maybe that's their wink, wink that maybe, you know.
Maybe they know more than they're letting on about the time scale of things and how long a little season actually is. You know, how long's a piece of string, I always say, because we don't know. We're not told a time frame. I'd be careful on setting dates, because that's a bit of a trap you can fall into where problems
100%.
arise from that. But one...
Not at all saying that.
I think there's a rephrase, a rebrand happening in the little season community, and Connor's obviously and Wendy are kind of at the forerunners of this. But I think the issue as well why people reject it is because of the name Satan's Little Season, as though he has some kind of power or authority in some way, when the Bible never says at any point he's given any more authority or power than he's ever had throughout history. It's just that he's released once more to deceive the nations. They're doing the exact same thing he was doing before he was released. So he hasn't been given like more power. I think it's just because we've been using that phraseology. A lot of people think, well, that's a satanic religion. You know, that's a satanic worldview. You're actually giving Satan more power than he's you know, and people don't like that idea that there's a time where the devil's in control, not Jesus. The truth is, Jesus is always in control. He is one, he is risen, he is alive, he's our king, he's our savior, you know, and all glory to him and power to him. The whole nothing under the heavens or earth is not his. You know, it's his. Through and through, the devil has nothing. He's just been released for a short time to deceive. Okay, so the rebrand it's the last season of Satan. I think that's a hopeful message. This is the last time humanity's going to have to deal with this thing, this situation, this adversary towards humanity and God. You know, it's the last time we have to deal with it, which means what comes after this is actually a glorious kingdom of heaven and earth come together after the great white throne judgment at the end of time. This is actually a positive message. This is a good thing. We're actually blessed to be living in such a time, if that's where we are. Like, there's no greater time to be alive. And it's better because we don't have to deal with the horrors of the tribulation event, which is the fear porn that's driving most Christians today, you know? You don't want to be around for tribulation. You really do not, you know? That's why the rapture thing was so popular. But it's if we're in the little season, we're not taking away people's blessed hope. We're giving them the true one and only hope that they should always have had. The new heaven and earth is here. It's just right around the corner. It's about to come now, you know, and not some 1,000-year earthly kingdom where there's still feudal battles here and there, you know what I mean? And it's Christ rules with an iron rod situation. It's more of a no more tears is around the corner, really around the corner. You know, it's the last season of Satan. Exactly. So I think that's it's a hopeful message, really. We'll see how it all pans out. Like I said, I don't talk about it so much on my channel anymore because I feel like I've done my bit. I feel like a broken record. I have hundreds of hours worth of content on there fleshing out the idea, and you know, in many ways the community, I feel like, went a few weird directions, which it grew a mind of its own and started snowballing in its own way, you know. And I realized it's kind of, look, I have other things to talk about as well, but I'm still all for it. I still think it's the truth. I think that's where we are, you know. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not going to die on that hill, you know. Fair enough. If suddenly the rapture did happen and tribulation came upon us, then all right, I was wrong. Fair enough. But I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it. I think we figured something out here big. And let's see. I think it can't hurt to at least have the idea there in your brain bank. That's kind of my theory on it all. Or the shelf of wonder, as one of our guests likes to call it quite on a regular basis here. Just put it on the shelf of wonder in the back of your brain. A possibility, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
It must have been crazy for you to hear at such a young age. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, it hasn't really been much of like a mind-boggling journey, for instance. Like, even learning about like my dad actually, when the first time I went to go learn about biblical cosmology, or like he had introduced me to it, it was a 8-hour documentary. Um, uh, yeah, he's like, just keep an open mind, or I forget what he said, but he was telling me to keep an open mind. I watched it, I'm like, you know what? This makes sense. And also pointing out the old world architecture, and it's
Yeah.
like we can't even build that today. Like, we can't build cathedrals, we can't build any of that stuff. So like, it was just it was eye-opening more than anything. Like, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. You can't believe everything that's said. Like, question what you hear, like within reason. Don't just go fully against it, but question it. Even use scripture, like depending on what you're trying to talk about, especially with the Bible, like use scripture to like to question what's being said.
Hmm.
And it's still something I struggle with. I mean, I'm still gonna have my biases, and I try not to, but it's hard to not have bias in some situations. But again, I try not to. I try to be.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? You know, God
Yeah.
forgives you for that. Don't worry about it. Like we're all
Yeah.
in that together. Yeah, we're all bringing our biases to this thing every single day. But at the end of it, we're one body. We all bring our own elements to this, and we're all working together. You know, and we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. And I think whether you're a pre-trib, post-trib, futurist, or little season, or whatever you want, whatever you come under, I still see you as a believer in Christ and a follower of the way, and you're still my brother or sister at the end of the day. I'm not going to let this divide us. Some other people might not believe that, might treat it differently. I literally had one person this other day say, "Are you still for the little season? Because if you're not, I'm just going to unsubscribe because I only listen to people who actually believe in the little season." And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'm not your brother in Christ anymore then, if that's the case, you know. But I still believe in the little season, but it's just an odd way of behaving and acting, you know. And I wouldn't encourage that to be the way you should treat anybody or view anybody over beliefs, which we cannot know with 100% certainty. Like, you know, well, you go off the words of Christ, he was pretty certain, so I think we can. But at the end of the day, there's things we don't know. There's things we don't know. It's not a perfect theorem or answer for everything, you know, and nothing ever is, especially if we're in the little season. We're going to be missing a lot of information, you know, so we have to be careful. We have to be very careful and not become like culty about these type of things. But that does seem to be the way of the movement, unfortunately. But I think not everybody, but I think that has been happening, unfortunately, and maybe that's just how Satan hijacks ideas. It happened with the flat Earth, you know, that whole community became very cultish and very strange, and then factions were created, and infighting began happening, and the whole thing just like a massive joke and ridiculous to outsiders. But when that first started, it was just legitimate people doing legitimate research, boots on the ground tests, and saying this doesn't add up, you know. And then when they started communicating and community was built, it went crazy. Things went weird very quickly, and bad actors moved in, I would say, you know, and it became a show, a circus. And I think with every big idea, that always happens. I think I started to see that happen with the little season community, unfortunately. And I'm like, I don't want to be a figurehead for that kind of thing. You know, it's not a good look, unfortunately. That's my 2 cents. Some people might hate. I'm probably gonna get disavowed and disowned for even saying that out loud, but that's just the way I feel. That's just the way it is, you know. It's
the fight worth fighting for. The truth, especially fighting for the truth with Jesus, with God, with the scripture, like that's the fight worth fighting for. Truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
But going back to the Earth stuff, I mean, it's controlled opposition. I see it that way. I mean, how else are you gonna hide it? You gotta mock it. They gotta mock it, and however they want to do it in movies, they can mock it. On the media, they can mock it. Because vast majority watch the media, mock it on the media, all of a sudden, brains are shut off.
Mm-hmm.
Now people think that when they hear the idea of flat Earth, they're like, "Oh yeah, you people." Like,
oh yeah, exactly. Well, I try and use the phrase biblical cosmology or an enclosed system because I'm not even completely sold on the shape. I just know it's not what NASA said, but I can't tell you what shape it is. I
Well,
don't
that's the
know.
thing,
I've not
like-
been to space. I wasn't blessed enough to be taken up into the heavens and shown all the kingdoms of the earth like some other people. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just know it's clearly not what they told us it was, and that's. I'm okay with some mystery. I always say that I'm happy to have some mystery left. I don't have to know that, and I wouldn't. As Connor was saying, one of his recent main character podcasts, like, be careful what hill you choose to die on. Because if you don't know something, you don't act like you do, or make a whole doctrine out of it, or a whole personality out of something we can't actually prove. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people fall into that. A lot of people fall into that in the Truther movement, definitely wholeheartedly identify with one thing, and then close the walls off to anything else. And I think we have to be careful, because the nature of conspiracy is we're dealing with unknowns. We're dealing with issues here, like that and we're in the dark from the get-go. We're working backwards. We're trying to brighten things up a bit and see more of an image here in a dark cave. You know, we have to be so careful. We really do. I think the controllers would love us to factionalize ourselves and separate ourselves and put up walls and become weird about it. I think that's what they want. We're playing right into their hands, you know. But it works with anything though. I'm not just trying to put like people in the little season community down. They're my people at the end of the day, you know. But it's a healthy warning. Like, I've seen these patterns come and go in the truther culture before. This is not the first time a big topic has become something crazy, and been turned into a something that puts people off, shall we say? You do. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you don't know what I mean. I don't know. But you got me thinking.
The thing is with me, like, I've lost a lot of, like, I've pretty much lost my entire friend group at this point. Like, while it was my own choice to get out of it, like, again, like, there's not many people I talk to about these things. I mean, I don't know where you are, if you have many people near you that, you know, that you call friend, that you could even call friends, like somebody that you would trust. Because that's the thing, like, people that I called friends once upon a time, I don't want to take away from them. I don't want to say that they're bad people or anything and why I wouldn't call them friends, but the big thing now is, like, somebody that I would call a friend is somebody that I trust, somebody that I could talk openly with, somebody that I can, you know, I trust my life with, kind of a thing. Like, that's somebody that I would call a friend. But if I have to small talk with somebody, then what are they? Like, I wouldn't, like, yes, I'm not against them, but at the same time, it's like, what can I tell them about?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, where I am in Toronto, Canada, I mean, yeah, I don't know many people near me. Me and my dad tried going to churches a couple times. Again, it was more to meet people, not so much for the service. I mean, I can't say I enjoy it. Like, the church service and stuff and how that kind of goes. We went to a Baptist, but yeah, I really like I just don't see entirely eye to eye with all of that, including, like, just all of that stuff. The different names the churches have, United, Baptist. It's like, if you're one in Christ, you're one in Christ. Why create division just like that? Like, that's just, it feels like you're just creating division by doing that. By having
I've had the same
denominations.
issues. I've never been able to find a church in the real world, shall we? It's a brick and mortar place,
Yeah.
you know, that I felt at home in or comfortable in, because I feel like the people in there they're just LARPing as far as I'm concerned. That's what it really feels like sometimes. It's just a way to get the kids into school, because that's how it works here in the UK. The church you go to can determine what school your child gets into, because they have affiliates all over the place. And if it's not that, it's that they are literally just only on Sundays type of situation, and outside of that,
Yeah.
to hell with it. You know, it's not real. It's so performative. That's how it feels like a performance. The whole thing from start to finish. I've had more fellowship doing this online, you know, and we're one or two meet in his name. You've got a church in a way. You've got fellowship. You've got what you need. And look how many people are listening now. I have 146 people here right now, all talking in the chat and having that fellowship. And this community on my channel, you know, they hop from video to video for different content creators, and I see regular faces, and it really is a community. And I find that is a lot more effective. And maybe you're already a member. Maybe you're already out there in our community talking and contributing. I don't know. You should be. You should be.
I'm actually like, in terms of, like, like getting myself more out there in the community. I mean, like this is the first time I've really done anything. I mean, I watch people like JT, I've watched people like Brian, like the odd time I might type something in the chat. Ooh, somebody's saying greetings from Toronto.
There you
Cool.
go.
Yeah.
You can get some
And
real,
that's the
maybe
thing.
get some real fellowship going now. There we go.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like the funny thing is actually the people that I've met that that are a bit more like that are Christian and whatever, it wasn't like that actually spoke to, even though they didn't believe in like the short the little season and stuff. Like we didn't even meet them at a church. One of them we actually met at it was like a health store of sorts, I guess if you want to say it.
Hmm.
And the conversation, it just kind of came out of nowhere that like we started talking about things, and it's like, oh, no way, like they were Christian, we were Christian. Again, like we don't see eye to eye, but I don't condemn them. Like I don't know their heart. I'm not God. I cannot judge. And I
Hmm.
don't know everything. I could be wrong for all I know, but and that's the thing, like when I look at people, especially like or when I'm talking with people that believe in, whether they don't believe in the way the earth is or biblical earth, I should say, and even if they believe in like the rapture's coming. I was there once upon a time. In fact, I was in an even worse place than that. And it takes time. Like you don't wake up right away and see these things. You
Hmm.
don't make these changes in your life. So
No.
again, like I don't judge them. Like I try not to. There's times when you get a bit frustrated and you want to like just like learn. Like you just want to like try and get into their head. Like, look, this is what it says here. This is what Christ said. But at the same time, it's like you can't force that seed of truth to grow. It's
Oh,
got to grow on its own.
that's true. It's refreshing to hear a 19-year-old think they don't know it all. So that's good to hear as
Oh.
well. It's not very often you hear a teenager say, "I don't know everything. I don't know this thing." Like that's very rare because I thought I knew it all at 19 and nobody could tell me anything. I got it all figured out. You're in a good position, Harry. You're in a very good position, and the show's coming to an end, so I'm gonna have to leave it there. But thanks for coming
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
sharing. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
No, not a problem at all. Obviously, I hope I'll see you out there in the chat in the future and contributing to this. Come join the Telegram if you haven't already. Understanding Conspiracy. We're always talking in there. It's a good way to get in touch with me directly as well. Anyone else listening, do the same thing. Links down below to the Telegram. If you want community, you want to get together, which is what my channel is all about. Like we can do that. We can make that happen. But again, Ari, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an
No.
absolute honor to be able to just talk to you. I mean, what you do, what all of these guys do, it is like, even though at the end of the day, like what Christ did was very, like most inspiring out of all are Christ and God. Like just seeing what you guys do, it's like, it also made me want to get on YouTube and, make content, like dive into
Do it.
stuff. Yeah.
Do it. Honestly, I'll help you. I'll promote your first video for you. It's good. I mean, I think we need more voices, and trust me, someone your age out there as a voice in the wilderness, I think would help other people your age not feel so scared of coming out and fiercely professing Christ. We need more voices out there doing that. So I encourage you, Ari. No pressure though. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. But yeah, it'd be good if you did. Honestly, I think you'd have plenty of people here willing to support you as well. But with that being said, thanks for doing this. God bless. Take it easy, and we'll speak to you soon. Okay.
Take care. See ya.
Bye now. Set that one there. Switch this screen back. Yeah, guys, I've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm just going to bring this show to an end now. But that was good. That was lovely, wasn't it? Hearing from, I think his actual name is Aristotle. We're calling him Ari. What a cool name, Aristotle. But yeah, there we go. So that was his testimony. A bright young man with a bright future ahead of him, it seems. And it was brave of him to come on to a show and talk to so many people as well, And same for Michael. I appreciate you coming and sharing your amazing testimony too. Inspiring. It's inspiring stuff, and I love hearing it. And I hope in some way these testimonies are helping you out there listening today and watching to realize that we really are just people. We're all here. We've learned some things. We just want to help each other. We want to help other people, and we're not crazy. We're in love. We do everything we do in love. For our fellow man and woman. We're just trying to help each other. That's all we really want to do. We're just trying to help, and these testimonies, I think, are a great way to help each other as well. Is if we can't do anything, we can at least share our testimony, And I think the power in that is a testimony to God itself. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to bring this show to an end. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in supporting me, you can always get yourself a book. Go to Amazon, get The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, or get the audiobook from Audible. If you want to get a book from me directly, I do still have 2 paperbacks available for signed copies. So email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. I have sold out of hardcovers, but I do have one which may be available again tomorrow, depending on whether or not the person who sent the money has managed to figure out why the bank hasn't allowed it to go through. So if that's the case, then there may be a hardcover available as well. But I do have 2 paperbacks available for signed copies. And if you're in the UK or America, if you get one from me directly, you'll also get a free audiobook as well. I can send you a code if you're in those regions. So there we go, guys. If you're interested in a signed copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns with an audiobook included, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we can get that arranged and sent out to you in the post. Other than that, please go and check out the podcast. So everything I do, this show included, will end up on Spotify, iTunes, wherever podcasts are. It all gets uploaded on there as well. If you prefer to listen to this on the go, maybe you don't want to use YouTube and you can't minimize YouTube, can you, and let it play if you don't pay for premium. So it's an easier way to listen on the go in the car or something like that as well if you're more interested. The video does get uploaded to Spotify too, so you can actually watch the whole show, not just listen if you wanted to on Spotify. So that's just something if you didn't know already. Make sure to check out the other channel, Understanding Creativity. Where is it? There it is. This one, if you're wondering, link is down below. I did just release a video on there, an interview with ex-soap opera star Hunter Tylo, who was on The Bold and the Beautiful, among many other things throughout her amazing career and life. And obviously she's come out of that and wants to kind of talk about the truth of the industry and what it's really all about. So we had a great conversation on there. Go and check that out if you haven't already, guys. It's some extra stuff to continue listening to what the things I come out with. There's a lot more things on that channel if you're interested. And we get into all the occult symbolism behind artwork and the industry of art, music, film, and the rest of it. So go check that channel out if you haven't already for something a little bit different. But with that being said, guys, I think we're done here. Nothing else to say. I'll be back on Wednesday with another live Q&A, hopefully, where we'll break down some of the modern current news, whatever's going on in the world with AI or whatever the news is throwing at us. I usually cover that on a Wednesday. Sundays, I think I'm going to try and keep like this, where we have call-ins and people sharing their testimonies. Keep the Truth of Therapy sessions what it should be, which is a therapy session, and I think it's working. It's good to be kind of back on track. It's good to be doing other things in a way and keeping this channel interesting, and really, because I think a lot of people are upset that I've stopped talking about the little season and like they're confused about what I'm doing. And the truth is, this is what the channel was always supposed to be. This is what the Truth of Therapy sessions are for. I cover everything conspiracy related, not just one of the puzzle pieces, which is what the little season is to me. And I feel like I've thoroughly understood that piece, and it's there on my board, on my jigsaw puzzle now, putting the whole thing together. It's definitely an important piece. It's definitely one of those pieces that makes a lot of things make sense. Don't get me wrong. I haven't fallen out of the community in any way. I'm not suddenly doing a 180 and don't believe anymore. I think it's true still. And I stand by all my videos, which are still available for you to go and watch. But this channel, yes, we'll be talking about everything else and all the other things as well. I am a fisher of men. I cast a broad net and I want to cover as many things as I can to reach into the corners of society and hopefully get those people to see the light and to come to the truth in Christ in any way, shape or form I can. Spiritual warfare is real. I still have a lot to share on the spiritual warfare aspect of living in this world. My Nephilim Look Like Clowns research and body work is about that, but I cover many of the things around that topic to help people better understand demons, biblical history, and how we can defend ourselves and the authority and power given to us in the name of Jesus Christ. So that's kind of what I want to also talk about and share. I'm not a one-trick pony on this channel, and I'm sorry if people are disappointed or confused, but I had to change. I've expressed clearly here as well. I did not like the direction the Little Season community was going in. The writing was on the wall as far as I was concerned, and I did not want to end up pigeonholed to the algorithm. I can't do that. That was never the ethos of this channel whatsoever. But again, that's it. That's just the truth. That's who I am. That's what I do. That's what this channel is. I am a Christian first and foremost. Okay, I'm not a Little Seasonist second or anything like that. You know, I'm a Christian. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a YouTuber. That's pretty much the order it goes in. My job comes last. And this is my job at the end of the day, as well as my passion and my dream and my focus and what I like to do. So if you like what I do, you can support me. You can find me here, and I'll be doing more of this as time goes on. Lots more to come, guys. There's always more to come on this channel. But thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.
When ordinary people think of autumn, they imagine shorter days, cozy fires, curling up with a great piece of literature, and basking in the warming scent of cinnamon with shades of burnt orange, which your other half has decided to spend the life savings on to decorate the home for only 2 months, just as God intended. Yet we must remember that this transition into the frosty abyss of winter creates the perfect conditions for the spread of the pathogen known as Halloween. This disease causes people to dress like demons and go door to door asking for free stuff. This public service announcement aims to give you the correct tool to help you deal with these contagious commie behaviors when they manifest in your local community. First, you'll want to arm yourself with multiple shots of the best-selling paperback on Amazon called The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. With this PPE, you're fully equipped and well protected to handle what's to come next. Second, have a pumpkin spice latte and white girl autumn your time away in knitted cream shackets and pilgrim hats, because soon enough, Samhain begins. This is when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical world is at its thinnest, and possession, the main symptom of Halloween, is more commonly presented, causing this type of unironic cringe to start happening. Just look at him. This poor soul thinks he looks cool. And if you're not careful, this could be you. Together we can stop the spread of Halloween and flatten the curve. When you see fully grown adults playing dress-up and mirroring unspeakable horrors from beyond the void, remember your training and cure their vapid sense of self-identity by handing them one of our favourably reviewed treatments. Your country must develop herd immunity to seasonal cringe. So, spread the cure far and wide. Just like the cure, this disease does not discriminate by age. Emulating the infected, you will see children running around in bedsheets, knocking on doors, begging for sugary treats, and threatening to damage your well-earned property. Make sure to fill their novelty buckets with the one thing all children secretly want: a well-rounded and relatable education in biblical history. That'll stop the spread. The Nephilim Look Like Clowns and the inevitable booster volumes are currently the only known cure to thinly veiled demon channeling holidays. This is your best defense against this pandemic of spooky proportions. All you have to do is trust the science. Which you know we did, because I'm showing you people wearing lab coats and looking serious. Get your copy on Amazon today, and be prepared for tomorrow. Side effects of reading The Nephilim Look Like Clowns include, but are not limited to, a feeling of existential crisis, a well-rounded knowledge of a Christian contrarian view on human history, a foundational understanding of spiritual warfare, and a healthy aversion to clowns.